Hello everybody, happy Tuesday. We are so happy to be here and we are glad that you're here too. I'm Patty.
Hi, I'm Carrie.
And we are StudioR12 and we do stencils, but when you do stencils, you are painting, you are DIYing, you are renovating, you are painting furniture, you are mixed media, multimedia, doing some creative journaling. You can scrapbook, you can do all of the things. So we are here to talk to you about the process of using stencils on multiples of things. We have so much to share today. Last week we asked you guys for questions, and you delivered.
We got them.
Carrie is going to be like, nope.
I know. I'm gonna need an extra large water for this to get through all the talking I'm gonna have to do today.
Yeah, it's a lot today. So buckle in. Because we have a lot to share, and we want you guys to get all the answers to all your questions. And so if we answer yours, make sure you'll be like, thank you, and all that.
And also, if we answer your question today, we tried to write down everyone's names as they were asking their question. So if we answer your question today on the live and say your name with it, then you will be eligible for a prize. So we will reach out to you as long as we are able to.
Yeah. You guys, it's a little bit complicated.
Sometimes we're not able to reach out to you, but we will try. And if then we haven't reached out to you in a couple of days, just reach out to us and we'll get some prizes out. But we have lots of prizes to give out, and we have lots of questions. Are we just going to jump into our first one today?
Let's jump in.
Okay, so our friend Kelly.
Hello, Kelly.
Hello, Kelly said, I did a project recently and had sanded it using a fine grit when it was dry, but sometimes I see lines going through the base coat only where the words were located. She was using a white background with black words.
Okay. So we kind of read through the questions ahead of time and gathered some supplies so that we could illustrate some things. So we have this amazing, so the one thing about tall porch signs, don't forget you can paint both sides. So I've got Christmas on one side, and then remorsefully I have crazy dogs live here, do not knock. And they bark, and stuff will get real on it. So there's some humor there. But I thought this was a really good example right here. This could be one of two things. This could be me streaking here and here, or it could be exactly what Kelly is going through or is experiencing. So when you have a stencil and you lay it down, and especially if you are maybe a base coater, like if you swirl, you're not going to have a big ridge line where your stenciled words are. And I really like the swirling because it leaves a really low ridge line. You don't have that stenciled design feel. So that's one thing. But when you are going through your sanding, your sander is it's a bunch of little rocks right there, right? No matter how fine it is, that's what it is. And it's going to drag across the raised edge of your letters, and then that stuff is going to be stuck on here, and so you're going to smear it through. So there's a couple things you can do. If I'm going through here, and so yes, I did get some of that, you can wipe it right back and kind of get rid of most of it, and then you can also, click eraser, come to mama. You can take your click eraser, you wet it. I watered our little plant, and now I don't have very much water. And you could go here, and you could kind of erase your lines if that is something that is staining. So you could also use a damp paper towel. Last week I did something silly and used a damp paper towel to just wipe it all back. And so that is how you can prevent that. On the other hand, you can run through it and just use that as you're distressing and you're antiquing. So those are some things that you can do. If you want something lighter and less gritty, the brown paper sack sanding technique is a really good one because it's not got any stones attached to it, and that will knock stuff back for you.
Gotcha.
Thanks, Kelly.
All right, our next question is, let's talk about the hole punch. We had lots of questions on the hole punch and how we use it to store stencils.
Okay, so the hole punch is magic, and you all need to know about the magic stuff because you can make a book out of like that. I don't know how many stencils that is. It's got to be 20, 30 stencils. Yeah, at least a million.
At least a million.
1,700 stencils, that's what it is. Okay, so this is the Happy Planner hole punch, and somebody asked how many, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's an interesting number. I was going to go for 10 or 12.
Yes, 9 was
9 is the number. And so these are the ones that they're using with the planners for just, you know, doing your date planner, your journaling planner, those kinds of things. But I was in the craft store and I saw those things together, and we had a family reunion, and my stepmother had one, and she is 60 something, you know, 70 something, whatever. And then my niece had one, it was in her 30s. And then my younger little granddaughter had one, and she was like 7, 8, 9, whatever. But it was so funny to see it across all the generations. They all had one. They all fell in love with it. They said it was super durable. And so I was like, let me give it a try. Okay, so what the essence of this is you take these little discs. It's a disc planner, is where you can find them. They sell the discs in a big collection of things. You can get them in the same sizes and different colors. I love the idea of the different colors because I can mark the books. I haven't been super intentional about that here, but if I was doing this in my house, I would absolutely do this in a color.
Well, we have done some. We did our Christmas. We have a Christmas ones that we did, and we did them red and white so that they look like a candy cane.
Yep. So if I was doing fall, I would do it in like the gold, and I think I did the fall in the gold. But so then this is just like patterns and different random patterny stencils. So it got green. For whatever reason, it got green. There was no intention. But what's neat about these, watch this. This is the magic piece. First of all, that's how many, this is a big holy stencil. Like this has got no support up here, but look at that's supporting all of the weight of that stencil. All those stencils, that's a lot. And then it just rips right out of there. And there's no damage, no wrinkling, no tearing, no bending. And then they just pop back in. And they are magic.
And we did have a couple of questions asking about what kind of book it goes in. It actually makes its own book. So when you have just one or two, it's obviously not going to be super thick, but the more that you add to it, the thicker it gets and the more that it becomes a book. Yeah,
so let's start with a buffalo plaid. Last week, you guys schooled it on the buffalo plaid. We sent 1 million buffalo plaids out of here last week.
Yes.
They're not just buffalo. We did all plaids. So the plaids, if we ever have a sale where you can get the plaids on sale, you want to absolutely take advantage of it because they're the ones that take the most time for us to cut. So they're the most expensive stencils that you can get. So those are the ones. Anything busy, if you look at it and you're like, that's a lot of things, then know that that's an expensive stencil. Like this leaf one would take seconds to cut. But the big plaid ones, and then anyway, we won't get lost in those weeds. But let's talk about how you punch this. So you just put it up in there, and you can go one side or the other, or straight in the middle, you know, and there you go. It's way back over there. And so they look like a bunch of little pin dots. And so that's the thing that the magic that holds the ring. Okay, we're Lord of the Rings right now. And so then what you do is then you take your little dudes and you put your little dudes right on in there and they hold on to them. So just like that. And then you can attach your second stencil right on there like I showed you, and then you just build the book. And so now you have a 2-page book that is attached by rings. And then you just fill the whole thing with your rings, and you can do more than one at a time. Oops. Okay, and then that's how you do it. You build it, and there, you guys, there has not been. We did the whatever the organization by Renee thing for a while about I don't know how many years ago, and that was good. But it had all those little clips, and then it had a round holder and it was fine. It was completely fine. But I ran out of space. I ran out of room. It just took up everything.
Right. One is really going to depend
and it was expensive.
On what type of space that you have. So for us, this works because we have a shelf underneath our painting area. But if we did not have this table with the shelving units, we have things hanging behind. So there are lots of different options. If you want to get super organized, like our friend Patty, not this Patty. Patty says that she made tag board covers for hers with a list of all the stencils that's in it, so that you can.
Patty, do you live in Ohio?
Can you come do that for
Can
us?
you come now?
All right, so let's move on. If you're done with those,
I'm done.
Okay.
Just getting them out of the way.
Our friend Debbie Easton asked, "Do you blow dry with the stencil still on?"
Okay, so I don't really have an example. Let me see if I can example this up. We're going to take the burlap, which is another question that we have coming up. We are going to lay that over. And so what happens when you blow dry with your stencil on, number one, I hate, if you guys have lived through the pain of me relining a stencil up, it is stupid. I just don't do it well, and I don't know why. I even wear my glasses. Like this. I'm trying to line this thing up, and I'm just like lost. And we're just going to pretend. So we're going to put our hand here, and if you're doing this and you've seen us, if you're new here, make sure you watch more of the technique videos. We do the technique videos on Saturday. They're projects, but they're filled with techniques. If you're watching a video with me in it, you're going to get a technique. If you're talking about gardening, you're going to get a technique. If you're talking about food, you're going to get a technique.
If you talk to Patty, you're going to get lessons.
Who I am.
It's filled with lessons.
Right, yeah, just like somehow that became me. Okay, so, but you're taping this down. And you're taping it in two places because you don't want that stencil being loose and freestyling, kind of. If you blow dry with the stencil on there, you'll notice it rumbles, so watch that fluttering. And what that's good for is it actually loosens the stencil from the paint, and because you are taped down, it's not going to move it around, and so that makes it so that your stencil isn't going to pull your paint away. If you're a heavy-handed or stipple till it is like heavy, then you might have your stencil and your paint stick together because it's just, that's what it's doing. Plastic is bonding to plastic. It doesn't usually happen. I give it like 5% of the time it's happened to me. And every now and again, if you're not quite dry enough or you've been rushing, which always is what I'm doing, then when you're peeling it off, it can just lift a little of the edges. So by doing this and letting it flutter, then you don't have that anymore. So it's just a nice, actually, technique to do, is to do it with the stencil in place.
And when you are doing that, be mindful, as Patty was showing, she was moving it around a lot.
Yeah,
and
not one area.
You don't want to do it in one area. We had someone in our boutique in Galplease who was painting with us, and they got out the blow dryer and they just put it on the high setting and set it over top of their project really close. And the paint kind of melted. It got really, really
Some of these
sticky.
blow dryers are hot.
Super hot.
Yeah.
So we always recommend moving it, constant movement, and not right on top of it.
I have a pro tip for you guys. Everybody's going to rush to Amazon and they're all going to do a thing. Okay, there is a stand. It has a heavy base and it has one of those arms that's wiry, and it holds a blow dryer. So you can have a blow dryer holder. I guess there's a whole bunch of applications for it, but you can park it over your project and make it into a blow dryer stand. So if you are always painting and always blow drying and always trying to get things dry and doing that, that would be a really good fit.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, our friend Kat asked, how do you treat old metal before painting, then sealing?
Okay, so metal is interesting. Metal is a general term. So you have old rusty metal, you have old, you have old, you have new, you have from China, you have from India, you have all these different versions of things. So if you have old, and honestly, any metal, any tin piece, what I would do is I would take it to my sink. I would give it a vinegar bath. So you're going to mix a good glop Glop is a measurement term. If you don't believe me, just Google it. I'm just lying about that right now. But do a glop of vinegar into your hot water with some soap, and then just scrub it down with the scrubby side of your kitchen scrubby, and then rinse it off really good. Put it in your oven to dry. Let it dry outside. Let it dry. Okay, just make sure it's thoroughly dried. Those rolled edges can be a problem. And then I would give it a complete sanding. I would use a mild sandpaper, not anything that's going to scar the surface. And then I would either, if it was new, I would do matte RocLon as my base, or if it was old, I would do this. It's XO Rust Galvanized Aluminum Primer. I have never in my life seen something that works as well as this. We've done it on a bunch of things here, and this is it's expensive, but you don't use a lot. It goes on thin, but it is incredible. So those are the two ways. And if you have something with the rust, then this can help tame that rust down. Rust is living, and so you want to make sure that you are taking care. I think navel jelly, if you guys have more tips on the rust, I tend to like risk aversion. So I might be like, you're a little bit too far gone for me. I'm not going to do it. Or know that when you do your project, it's going to continue to rust, and it's going to make it more charming and more primitive and more vintage.
Yeah.
So should we share about our...
Sure. If you guys are on our newsletters, you may have seen that I sent out hey guys, keep your heads up. We have something coming soon, and that is our October project of the month. It will be pre-released or released for pre-order tomorrow. Tomorrow's the day. So we are super excited about it, and we like to use this time before we release October just to give you a little sneak peek of what we did the month before.
So what we did is so I think the October project of the month is $120 worth of something. Yes. It's a lot for $49.99. Yeah, so you're getting a very, very big discount, and it includes so many stencils and stickers and bonuses and surfaces, which this one is, you guys, it came together like a dream.
It did.
It was like almost painless in every way. Like sometimes you got to work really hard to make new surfaces, and this one is unique and crazy. Anyway, so this one was September, and you didn't get two surfaces, but I painted them in the exclusive video, and you can paint on both sides of them. So this one has two falls. You wouldn't paint two falls. But just to show you that you could use them, and you can paint another season on the other side. So everything is reversible, and so that's a way that you can use it. But you got pattern stencils, you got banding stencils, you got word stencils. This one was a big, big, big package. How many stencils was it? Like 9 or?
It was a ton.
It was a ton of stencils. You had the two layered emblems, and then leaf pattern stencils, and it just looks like so many things. But this is how I painted them, and then a whole bunch of people are sharing what they've done, and it's incredible. This is our new truck, and it's just got really cool lines. And then Elaine rejiggered it, so the 2-layer actually makes it, and this won't be released for, like everything that we're doing in our project of the month won't be released until we get to like next year. So if you want it in season, everything's exactly right on the season. So if you're getting it, it's going to be for what's coming up next. And so that is, if you want it in season this year, then you need to order it, and it will be way cheaper to get it as a project of the month than it will be to get it later, singly or as a set or whatever. So just be aware of that. You're going to save a lot of money by doing it now.
Yes, agreed.
Okay, next question.
Next question. Our friend Peg asked, do you need to use a cover cloth when ironing on the RocLon?
Yeah, so I'm going to grab the RocLon. Okay, so this is last week's example. So RocLon looks like this when you buy it from the store. And there was another question about the thick versus the thin. And do you know who that one was? It was like distant from each other. Yeah. So a very
It's
wonderful
our
customer.
friend Eliz.
Who?
Eliz.
Eliz asked if the thicker one, she couldn't find the thicker one that we used to paint on. And this is not the thicker one. This is the drapery curtain liner. This is when you go to a hotel and you have the blackout curtain. It's actually called blackout curtain liner. When you go, and it's RocLon, RocLon, excuse me. And it's, it's this weight, if that makes sense to you. It's not flimsy. It's not heavy. Everybody knows the weight of it because you've been to a hotel. I'm assuming most of us have all been to hotels. Anyway, if you need to iron it, then I would always, anytime I have a question about ironing something, I always use a pressing cloth. A cloth napkin weight would be good. I wouldn't use like a heavy towel. You want something that's thin, handkerchiefy weight. And so anyway, but I would do that and then steam or whatever if I needed to get a heavy line out. A lot of times the painting will take out your heavy lines. I have one here that is a fold line. I think that was the beginning of the bolt. It did not come out, but mainly you don't see very many other lines on this. And then what was our original question? Oh, the heavyweight was the second one.
About the ironing.
The ironing. Okay, so we've got both of
Cover
those.
cloth.
And you guys, this is amazing stuff. And then I showed you last week that you can actually sand it. This is kind of, listen to the sound. And now it's much smoother.
Yeah.
So when you roll on, I always roll on your base coat on the RocLon because that will keep it from clumping and doing all kinds of things. It's definitely a good idea to do that.
Okay. Vicky asked, are there any tricks to stop the fraying on burlap?
Okay, so the fraying is one question, and then so the painting is another. So I used on this burlap the RocLon 1311. That's the one we were talking about for the tin. This is universal. You all need a can of this. Every painter, DIYer, you're going to find a use for it. It's amazing product. I've used it for at least 30 years.
Well, when we use it when we glitter or when we do anything with raised embellishments.
If you do marker embellishments on your piece, there's a big trend to do like the round signs and have a bunch of marker hash lines around it. And so if you varnish or wax over that, it's going to smear your marker because they're alcohol based. And so you do this on top of that, and then you can varnish or wax after. So this is a great product. But so you've got this little piece right here. This is the fraying that we're talking about. If I wanted to prevent this from fraying even more, I would take this outside and I would do a heavy coat right on that edge. I use a big piece of cardboard over a trash can is my setup. Really pro here. Anyway, so, but use that piece of cardboard and then just give it a heavy spray right there, and it won't build up. It won't make any difference to anything else you're doing.
Okay. All right. Do you have any ideas for adding real Christmas lights to tall porch signs?
I said no.
She said, and immediately she's like, no.
Nope, I don't have any. Got nothing. And then
2 seconds later, she said, okay, I do.
Okay, I do, yeah. So, do we know who this one was?
No.
So if that was your question, everybody send Carrie a message and say, that was mine, that was mine.
Thank you, Patty.
Just kidding. That question is off limits. Don't do it.
I have written down who.
Okay.
I have written down.
So one thing about Carrie is you can always know that she's going to be the most organized ever. Okay. So putting real Christmas lights, it's going to depend on a lot of different things. But at my house, I have a lot of houseplants. And so there's these little command strips. They're about maybe 3/4 of an inch. And I don't know if they make them smaller or bigger. You'd have to check that out. But they're clear. And they have a clear sticky on the back of them. And I've got them going up. We've got a chase, if you've ever done a home construction project where they needed a place to run wires through or a beam to hold something up. I have one of those between my living room and my dining room. And so it's just a column. And I have a bike with a plant, like a philodendron plant, and I've got these stuck on the wall, and then the philodendron plant is like twisting its way all around this column, and it's really cool. So you could stick those on your piece. You could put a bunch of if you had little Christmas lights, you could put the little brads on your project. You could drill holes through your project if you had the straight Christmas lights, and then maybe add a little bit of like museum wax. If you guys know what that is, it prevents your glass things from falling off your shelves in an earthquake zone. It's really cool stuff. So if you have a display someplace, you can put a little bit of clear gel underneath the edge, and it's museum proper, so it won't hurt your stuff. So you could put that on the back of them to keep the lights in. So those are the ideas that I came up with in my 2-second pop-up.
What is the, Carol asked, what is the best way to heat set fabric that may not work in the dryer?
I would say with a pressing cloth or the blow dryer, honestly.
Okay.
Would probably work out. Yeah, and by the way, you guys, if you like the content, make sure that you give us a thumbs up. That's an algorithm thing, so everybody can give a thumbs up and it won't interfere with your life. If you love this content and you want to be notified of it, then make sure that you subscribe. Ring the bell to be notified.
Yeah. So we do these.
I guess the sorry, I totally jumped in on you. I apologize. But if you give us a thumbs up, it's good for the algorithm. It's still, all of it's good for the algorithm. But then you do the subscribe. The subscribe is going to bookmark you. You're going to know where we live then, because you can go back to things you've subscribed to and find them, and then the ring the bell will notify you.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we go live every Tuesday on Facebook and YouTube. So that's going to be different depending on where you are. You're going to like us on Facebook and you're going to like our page. On YouTube, you're going to subscribe to our channel. So it's going to be different depending on where you are and where you are watching us from. On Facebook, we only do the Tuesday lives, and then we do have a lot of other content with new releases and videos and things like that. But our YouTube channel is really where we provide our video content. And there you'll be able to get links to all the collections and the videos that we're talking about. You will get other links to similar videos. Last week, we did a fun video on using personalized stencils and choosing colors to make colors for maybe your favorite sports teams or things that you really like the colors. This weekend, we are doing a fun Halloween project and showing how to make banding lines, how to fix banding lines. Mine weren't as clean as what Patty's were in her video last week. And so I'm going to show you some ways that you can cover it up, patch it, and fix your mistakes. And so there's lots of things on this weekend's video.
Yeah, and you guys, you're always going to get, like, last week I showed if you were using a roller to go through the buffalo plaid, and I used I was painting on my arm, use a gentle pressure so you barely can tell that there's any paint on it, and then I pressed, and then I did it on the thing, and my gosh, let's show it real quick. Every video that we do is going to show you the technique. So when I pressed really hard, same load, I didn't reload. This was with gentle pressure, so 2 coats would do that perfectly crisply. And then this was me being like, pretend like I'm in a hurry or I'm just using heavy pressure. And you can see the difference, same load of paint on your roller. So be careful about hurrying, be careful about pressure. And there is a video that we did about pressure recently. So that one, I would absolutely, that's so valuable to know about the pressure in your painting.
Yes. All right. Our friend Pat asked, do you seal ribbon before and after painting on it?
Pat, I absolutely have not sealed ribbon before or after. I'm imagining if it was like a plasticky ribbon, you might want to, but I think the fabric loves paint. You can never get paint. I don't have very much on this one. Oh, yes I do. Fabric loves paint, and this is a whatever rayon-y, something nylon-y kind of apron, and it still loves it, so you're never getting it off. But you can. I have a product we're going to introduce here. I tested it on my own. Goofy, don't wear an apron today, and got paint on myself, and so we tested it, and it worked like a dream, so that's coming up.
All right, our friend Brenda asked, on the stepping stones, do you always seal them with multi-purpose sealer before painting with patio paint?
Yeah, I love the variety of all these questions. Brenda, thank you for that question. Yes, on patio, on stone outside, you want to use that multi-purpose sealer, because if you are not doing it, I call it making a paint sandwich. So the paint doesn't always have enough of the goop to hold it down. So you want to have a good primer. The primer bonds to the paint. The sealer bonds to the paint. So you've got a little paint sandwich of primer and paint, and that is what is going to keep it good. And the stepping stones that we have on our YouTube channel were done with that technique, and they were outside for 2 years.
Yeah.
So they definitely work.
Okay.
Hey.
Cindy asked, could you seal the painted surface and then be able to correct any issue?
So yes, so I want to talk about that for just a hot second, because it's very important. I have had to fix a bunch of things in the past. So 2 things that you can do depending on what you're sealing with. Grab one more. Okay, so DecoArt's DuraClear Matte Varnish is a really good sealer because it's matte. And so when you seal over something, you can seal with a foam brush, you can seal with a oval glaze brush, you can seal with a roller, depending on what size your project is. So when you are sealing, you can, and the Krylon is another really good choice. So these 2 are really good general choices. And then the wax, one more. So we use a lot of the natural wax. It makes a lovely, almost buttery, felty, suede-y kind of a little bit. It just has a neat, warm texture to it. It's a really lovely finish. So we do like this on top, but I've had to fix over wax. So what you can do, if you need to fix over these 2, because they're matte, you'll be able to paint right over it. If you need to, you could give it a little sand just to rough up the surface and get it to stick, and then go ahead and give it another coat over the top. Wax is different, so if you have wax and you've made a finish there, I've done this a bunch of times, then we use the Zep is what I use, and you probably have, Awesome or whatever. I don't know what else works. You guys can share that in the comments and let everybody else know. So this is one of the things I love about this is, sure, I'm telling you something, so Pat and Brenda and everybody, right? So I'm telling you specifically an answer to your question, but everybody else in this community is learning. So when you guys share your comments and say helpful things, then they all get to learn from it. So you're teaching as well as me teaching, and I think that's just amazing. Anyways, so Zep works. We've got, this one is the all-purpose cleaner. It's not diluted. This is how it came to us. We order these by the case. And actually, Carrie was cleaning this. I had made all the black lines in the universe, and I was like, it's ugly. And then I had things to do, and Carrie cleaned it. She was so sweet. But she sprayed it on, and this was dried hard paint. The rubbing alcohol didn't touch it. The Zep worked really well. So you just squirt a little bit over your wax. You wipe it off. Feel it once it's dry, and if it feels still a little waxy, give it one more shot, and then go ahead and fix, and it works really well.
And I just shared a video that we did on repainting old projects. We found a project that was fine.
I know, fine.
It was fine.
Sure.
But it was not great.
Yeah.
And we were able to make it great by...
That was a great idea.
It was a great idea. And the project looks so great. Okay. Blake asked, with Christmas coming up, what's the best way to paint fur on a Santa hat?
All right. I am prepared for this. So, you guys, this is the neatest thing. This brush right here is the White Wonder brush. If you're familiar with our dome brushes, they are cut dome and all the way around. And this is domed, and it's like... if you know what like hair thinners are, when the hairdresser stomps your hair with that thinning tool and pulls out like all these little strands, it's cut like that. So it's got this serrated, feathered shape. And so it's thicker at the base, really thin at the top, but it's oval that way. I think oval must be the name of my game. It's definitely who I am as a person. Okay, we're going to use some gray. When you're doing hair, really good idea, If you're still watching this video right now, this is going to be worth the price of admission just because you need to know these tricks. Here's my little Chad from the punch. I think my punch must be filled from the stencil organizing because I've done a lot. Okay, so if I'm on a dark surface, you don't want to start right out with white on the dark surface because you're going to be, it's going to be too glaring. So with this brush, this is like 1,000 liner brushes all connected together. So it's got a whole bunch of liners all in your thing. And when you, Steve, I'm going to flay out right down here. When you splay it out, you can see all of those liner brushes. Every one of those will make a line. And that is so important. So we want our paint to be able to flow off of this brush. So I want it milky or inky. And then I want to splay it out. And I probably will blot and then kind of reload and blot the tip. So when you start making your Santa fur or your beard or grass or so many things you can do with this brush. It's ridiculous. We're going to talk about spattering in just a second, even though you didn't ask. So you go here and you're just going to make, so notice that I have my pinky sitting here and my brush is pulled up above so I can plunge my brush down. So this is the key to using a liner brush. This is the key to using this brush for this technique. I want to anchor it and then I want to pull, and so it's going to make this nice little, and so my hand is braced to do that. So if I started with white, load my brush, splay it out. You're not going to hurt this brush by splaying it out. So if I started with white, it would just be very, very strong. So what you do is you build. And now you're going to be able to accent a little bit. So see how maybe that's the piece where the Santa fur is disappearing behind the hat. This is the area that's up front. So I'm trying not to run my hand through this. And so now I can accent the curl that's sneaking up and around with my little bit of brighter color. And then the other thing that this brush, so this is the White Wonder, and miracles of miracles, we have the small size and the larger size in stock now.
They are not in stock on the website, but
man.
they will be.
They're in this building.
Hopefully soon.
Yeah, they're in this building, so check on them after we're done and we'll make sure that they get done. But then the other thing that this does is you can spatter with this. So you can snow spatter. Look at how perfect, it's so great. And then if I wanted to give myself an area that I wanted to spatter within, I can anchor my brush, like heavy-handled handle, and then this guy, and very, very little went outside. If you wanted to pick those up, you could take your damp paper towel and just blot those and remove them. So it's a remarkable brush. Ooh, it almost went in my wine.
We had a stencil fan send us a picture of a project she recently painted, and it had a really dark background, and then she spattered it to make it look like stars, and then painted us one of the spooky Halloween in oranges, and it was really pretty. It was a really good combo.
Carrie was sharing whose project was the red and white? Do you have any idea?
Yeah, I shared it on our page. It was the red and white mitten with the polka dots.
So whoever painted that,
maybe Vicky.
It made me go, oh, like we get inspired by you guys. Like it was so inspiring. It was amazing. I loved it.
Yes. Okay, we have a couple more.
Okay.
We don't have a name for this one, and I actually, when the question came in last week, I responded, no, I don't have any experience with this. I personally did not. And then a couple days later, Patty and I were out on a walk, and I brought up, someone asked about, can you paint on a mesh screen? And then Patty has this whole history. Repository
of information.
Of course.
Yes. So Roxanne Jarvis is in, I think she might, I don't know where she lives right now. It's been years since I talked to her. She's a beautiful artist. But she lived or was familiar with Baltimore, and Baltimore has a huge history of painted screens that I think they even have. I'm just like, way back in the Wayback Machine, maybe 15 years ago, so a long time. I think they have a historical walk that goes in, you can see the screens. But when you paint on a screen, you can't see into the room that the screen is on, but you in the room can see out. So it's very much like those things that they paint on the back of a car or a truck with a mountain scene or whatever. And they can see out to see whatever. I don't know why that works. It's just weird.
I don't know.
But it works the same with screens. So yes, you can absolutely paint on a screen. And so what you would do is you would treat it very much like a piece of canvas. And so you would bolster it up. So if I had a canvas that was round, and I would put something like boards, or I put a towel under something last week, you want to bolster it up, and then you could roll, like say you wanted to paint the whole thing black, you could roll that on, and then you can lay your stencil down, you can do your stencil technique. All of your other paint's going to fall through those little cracks, and then you can poke them out with like a little weeding tool or something like that. But you can just paint it just like anything else, and it's amazing. So if you want just a little sass on your house, paint a screen.
And then our friend Vicki Bunker said Holly Hanley does an amazing screen painting too.
So Vicki, hi. And Holly Hanley also, I didn't know Holly had them. So Holly is a Canadian artist, and she is incredible. So Holly Hanley, and yeah, she's Canadian. I think she's Canadian. Oh, Vicki, correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, I'm just like, wait, all my 50 people are all like zooming through. Yeah.
Okay, so Patty Reitz asked, my new kitchen is decorated in a Tuscan theme, including tiles with a grape design on them over the stove. I want to put a new design on the tiles over the grapes. Any tips on how this can be done?
Yes. So my first painting shop was in an old house in Portland, Oregon. And it was right on, like it was coming, light rail was coming through, and they were going to take it all down. So I got to rent it for a couple of years. And so in that house, we painted on linoleum, we painted on tile, we painted on the countertops, we painted on everything, and walked on it. So many students, all the things. So right now in the current world that we live in, and you can, it's NSL-X is like, I think the company name. But the product is called Sticks, and that is a product that works in like high humidity. It works on hard surfaces, which tile is a hard surface, and it is a primer. And it works over like all the paints. I was reading the list, and it was like oil paint and stain and all the things. So do your homework. I have not used this product. I did a Kills primer back in the day, and that's been like a long time ago. But this, I believe the world of chemicals has evolved into uber super chemicals. And so, yes, it's absolutely possible. So you just need to get it primed well, cleaned well. So if you're over a stove, you're going to need a degreaser. And so you want to absolutely uber degrease so everything can stick. You're not going to be able to etch on it. Like you're not going to be able to sand it. That won't help. So you need a good primer. And then once you prime, then you can put your paints on. You're going to make a paint sandwich, just like our concrete stone.
Paint sandwich. Yeah,
and then you put a good sealer. I would say that this product line probably has a sealer that works well with it.
Okay. We do have some more. We have several questions from today, and I think we'll hit all those offline.
Okay.
Some that we haven't talked about and some other things. So
make sure you guys share anything that you know about the topics. We covered everything today.
Yes. Well, and we have had several questions that other customers have answered for us, which is
yeah.
fun.
You guys know as much as me, like maybe.
But everybody has their thing that they know about.
Yeah, just kidding.
You wait for that question to come.
Yeah. Well, but it's like if you are painting screens all day long, like you know who the artists are that have the things.
Yep.
But like I don't paint screens all day long. So yes. You guys, thank you so much. It is amazing to be here on Tuesdays. We love you guys. Have a great week.